Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. Today is February 24th, 2021. I wanted to come here and talk about different subject today, but of course it's very relatable, and I hope at the end of this video we can both learn something. And when I say both, I want you guys to leave me comments and tell me like what you think about it, or if you think if you have a Bible verse as the answer for what I'm asking about, please go ahead and leave it in the comment section, because I'm very eager to learn. So let me tell you something about me. I grew up in the Dominican Republic, in case you didn't know. All my life I had gone to church. I'm so used to going to a church that, it has it's completely different to the church that I attend these days or have been attending the past couple of years. I do understand though, guys, that things change. The way you approach something, you have to keep up, I guess you can say, with the times. But you have to have a limit. So I was listening to this podcast the other day, and I think it's so true. And I knew I had this revelation years ago about how the church is becoming so like the world, and even though we know what's happening, we still somehow want to not believe it or just face it or say something because it seems like everybody else is accepting it. One of the biggest thing is the how we celebrate kind of like every holiday that's happening. I mean, I had been in church on during what's that, St. Patrick's Day that's coming up actually in March, and I have seen people coming to me and trying to say, oh, we're doing a special thing this month because of St. Patrick's Day. And I mean, honestly, guys, I know that's it's more celebrated American holiday, but I would never picture that happening in a Hispanic church. Hispanic church, and in other churches that I've gone through before. I feel like people are making the church too modern, and they're missing the point of it. So they're kind of like taking a wave with it, and they're just going with it 100%, and somehow they're missing the whole idea of preaching the gospel and telling people about condemnation from being a sinner, and not really teaching coming to Christ and having a change in their lives and a huge transformation. But the thing is, like, a lot of the times, because like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. It's almost like I'm back and forth. I feel like a lot of the times I know friends of mine that I know, like co-workers and things like that, they're so afraid when you ask them, hey, you want to come to church, you're trying to reach out and things like that. They feel like they're going to be putting in a, raise your hand if you're new, come to the front, we're all going to talk to you about what are your problems. Like, I feel like that's what keeping a lot of people away. But then, then you invite people to church, and say, you can say modern church, and then you wish you wish that the pastor that day will speak about, coming to Christ, doing the altar call, which a lot of the times can be missed. And then you invite that person, then they end up talking about like being an entrepreneur and having a, what do you call the board that you put like what you want in life, like your car, your house. And it's so disappointing. It's so hard to explain. It's like, I brought my friend here, and I know, like, we are the church, that we are supposed to be the ones speaking about it, but, and then they have, like, a lot of theater production, and, they say it's a seeker-friendly church, but did God call us to do that? I mean, some of the tests in the Bible, when Jesus is speaking about sinners, and he's saying things, and he went to the church and the temple, and he like flip open the tables because they were selling. Imagine Jesus walking into a church right now these days, and maybe you cannot say, okay, maybe because of the pandemic, but maybe in 2019, imagine Jesus walking into the church service. I mean, will he be flipping things away? Because it's becoming such a like a vendor, such a like a vendor event is a cancer, vendor event cancer. People get easily lost in a mega church, and a lot of people love that because you can just go in and do your thing, just listen in. Nobody knows you, nobody cares, nobody asks if you need prayer, and that's it. But you say you go to church, and that's the easiest thing to do. There's no kind of like community. Yes, they always say you gotta come in and get connected and all of that, but a lot of the time, because they're getting so many new people so often, because it's attracting a lot, the people who go to 1 or 2 meetings to kind of get connected and get to know more people, if they miss 1 or 2, then that's it. Like, it would take a very strong church founded in the faith of God to reach out and not let go of those people. I feel like I've seen it happen. This is why I'm speaking about it, because I've seen it happen where they know the people that are always there, kind of like guarantee members. They will always come every Sunday. And then somebody new comes along, and then, they start filling that person with ministries that they perhaps didn't ask to have. They just wanted to kind of like come and see how things are. And 2-3 weekends in, they already offer ministries. And I feel like that's an issue, because you have to understand, I'm not trying to go against like what pastors see and why they chose that person or whatever, but people get used to familiarity. Is a really dangerous thing, and that happened with Jesus. They were saying, isn't this the son of the carpenter? Like, it's almost saying like, how can he be doing big things? How can he be reaching for more? Like, he's just a son of a carpenter. Like, we already know him, we're familiar with him. How is he doing all these miracles? And that happens a lot in the church. And then what the result of all of that is, church hurt, people stray away, people don't want to come back because they feel like I have put so much coming here, volunteering, doing everything according to kind of like what they expect, and somebody comes along and she's leading the entire everything without like effortless. And I feel like a lot of times that's things like that happen in life. But the issue that I have with this new seeker-friendly church is putting people that are brand new in the faith in ministry, is that people that are new, guys, they don't necessarily have the experience to lead. They're not called to lead. But I feel like a lot of the times when you have a seeker-friendly church, they're basing on how popular this person can be, how cute they are. I mean, I've seen it all, guys. I'm not talking to pretend that things like that not happen. I've seen church plans where people are being given position of, we understand that when you go into church, there's people at the door greeting you, the ushers and things like that. Everybody has their own kind of like position. But when you're taking that plan of your church and you're putting people to be happy person in the crowd, that was actually a position. And it was not during a play, it was a regular service, and that person was called the happy person in the crowd. And I saw that person do every song. That was the most animated person, I guess you can say. So when you have a church like that, that is so, it's a church creating a show for people to enjoy it and to say, oh yeah, there's something here. That's a problem. And I feel like, I don't know, like what I was praying before making this video. I said, what do you want me to talk about today, God? And I'm talking about this because, like I said the other day, I listened to a podcast about it too. Obviously, I'm not the only one who sees it. I had an issue before during the hard times that are happening where the church wants to go according to plan, and then the world is falling apart with so many things happening and nothing is being mentioned. It's all about next week we have this, next week come and build your inspirational board, next week you can learn how to make this, next week we have yoga. I mean, the other thing with the yoga too, that's like a whole nother thing, a whole nother video about that. It's everything like, and this is why so many people leave the church, and this is why so many people have church hurt, because they're going there for entertainment. And yes, some people might stay 2-3 years, but then that's it, you won't see them again. And then at the end of the day, sometimes I feel like the church doesn't really care much, because they know people are gonna come guaranteed. Because if you're like putting like one of the biggest costume shows during Halloween, calling it fall fest, you're disguising something to call it something else just to attract people. So that guarantees people, when you spend all this money on the Christmas production, that's people guaranteed that are gonna come fill the chairs. So to retain some members or not, it's almost like they're like, you know what, somebody else will come along. And this is why a lot of the new people are giving such big ministries, because I've been to big churches, and a lot of the times to get volunteers is extremely difficult. And you cannot understand, how is it possible? All these people here, nobody can take one Saturday for 2 hours and come here and volunteer Saturday night. I remember when I was doing ministry in my church, I was there every time the Christmas production came, and I was the production person the entire weekend. It was hard to find people. And then there was always something happening that I had to cover for somebody on the weekend. And then you will sit in there and you will think, oh my goodness, all these people come to the service on Sundays and nobody can take 2 hours and just volunteer one time. Or I used to do the bookstore and things like that. But that's not even the point. The point is that, like I said, people take care and they're like, okay, I'm here, and then that's it. Or they don't see it as a church at the end of the day. They don't see it as a church because, one, nothing in them is changing. Yes, they can be hearing the gospel at some point, but there's not a demand to see change. When people are called to the altar and they come and accept Christ, something in them has to change, because if not, you just answer an altar call. You say yes to the prayer, but you're not really like effectively seeking change in your life. It's almost like you want to be accepted into this circle that we call church. Somebody perhaps invited you and you came forward and you were accepted. You want to be accepted and say, okay, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do just because I want to keep coming here and say I go to church. But because the demand from the church is not really seeking for people to change, it's more about seeking to keep people coming every Sunday. That's where the problem arises, and it's been happening for so many years now. This is why the Hillsong Church, not long ago, they had a huge fallout. The Hillsong Church here in Connecticut, everything is gonna come to float. Like, if you are using the church that you were called to lead, or you were called to minister or something, and you're using it to sell your book, because that's the other thing. Like, I've seen so many pastors like, come to my class, I'm doing this class this Saturday, all the ladies come to my class, don't forget to get my book at the bookstore. Okay, can I go if I don't buy the book? Like, everything is such a business, and it's so crazy for me. And like I tell you guys, sometimes talk about it, because as you guys know, I sell things. People, when I came out with my whatever, like everything that I do with the jewelry and whatever, and there was an article in the paper. I was not seeking that article at all. That kind of like happened, like gas and whatever. But somehow people think that I was just trying to put myself out there. Like, it was so effortless. I had no idea. I just finished doing a photo shoot. Somebody in town that is very, he was like he's a senator. He used to be a senator, and he his office is near the studio, so he was always talk to me, and then ended up knowing that his wife is best friend with one of the persons that I knew from church, a good friend of mine, and every time we would see each other in passing, we were talking. One time I was leaving the studio and he was coming to his office and we were talking, and he's like, how's it going? How's your business? And I said, oh, I just did a photo shoot. And he said, you should send it to the press. And I said, oh, really? Like, why? And I was like, I got home. I was like, let me just do it. Why not? Like, I have the photos. They're great photos. Just see my photo shoot. And then the paper is like, okay, when can we meet you? Like, but the thing is, like, with that, people somehow think that you're trying to get notoriety. At the end of the day, that was not the intention. I didn't take the photo shoot to reach out to the paper, but somehow the paper wanted to do a story about what it is that I did here in town. But the thing that I'm going to with that point is that after I did that, a lot of people from the church I'll go to and the church I used to go before, they're like, oh, you're gonna come bring your ukulele here now? Like, I never picture myself doing that. Even though my stuff said glory to God and I have ukulele that say, Bible verses and things like that, in my head, I never in a million years thought that I was gonna go to my church and set up a vendor table. And I never have. And if I do if I did that in the past, it was other churches that invited me for a ladies event on a Saturday, something kind of like in a different area away from like the main church, where they were doing a fellowship event, and they were and I did like a fashion show, told my testimony, and I was able to set up a vendor event. But I never would have imagined to sell things at the church. But like I was saying about buying people's book, like everybody wants you to buy something from them. Come to my class, make sure you get my book. Oh, I just did another book. And like everybody, I feel like everybody's just trying to be like, to have a fan club. Everybody's looking to have a fan club. Instead of pointing people to Christ, everybody's like, oh, come and get this book. I'm going to be speaking at this event, and it's just so strange to me sometimes. The strange part is like, okay, that's fine. Everybody can be an entrepreneur. That's not the issue. The issue is to see us so open in the church. And, like I would say to people, oh, I'm doing a fashion show, but it's not like I would say, I tell you guys, like the people that least support me are the people who believe in Christ. Even though my stuff is all about glory to God and modest clothing and preaching the gospel, that's the least people that you would think people are praying to the same God. They want nothing to do with it. It's so strange. But anyways, what I'm saying is, if this is something that you also noticed in the past, about the modern church and kind of like straying away, I've seen a lot of events happen in churches that are so against the what God called us to do in the church. They're spending so much money. Like, you know how much money we can spend instead of trying to get actors, real actors, to perform at our Christmas production. How about we take that? And I'm not trying to get anybody out of work, nothing like that. I'm just saying, like, how about we take that money and like send it to a poor country, or like come out, like I told you, I have homeless people around here all the time. Like, use that money to support people who are in need in the community. And everything doesn't have to be a big production, because that is why churches are filled mostly on Christmas time and Easter, because people know they're gonna come here and see like a cartoon show, and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna go there for the kids, and that's it. They will never come back. And what I was saying about being convicted and seeking change, that's not being demanding at all. I mean, there are a lot of topics that people don't talk about. People want, in big churches, they want new members to get connected, because they feel like when they're connected, they're able to kind of like throw the hard stuff of what the gospel is. during the Sunday service, they just want them to hear about baby Jesus, because baby Jesus is so welcome, because he doesn't, he's a baby. He's not really talking. He's just a savior that came to the world. But when Jesus starts speaking, that's when people are like, whoa, we can't say that in service because, we don't want to offend anybody. Like, the gospel is going to offend people because it's demanding. We always demand change. The gospel will never change its purpose. The purpose is to let you know you're a sinner who needs Christ, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. But you want them to hear it now when there's time to change. You don't want them to wait when there's like no time at all. So I just wanted to hear what you guys have to say about that, how the church has changed over the years. Sometimes I feel like it's just a big group of people just, like the other thing too, guys. Why is it that during Sunday service there's so many people, and when you go to one of the small groups classes, you get like 5 people to show up? That's what it is. They want that baby Jesus every Sunday. They don't want to hear the hard stuff. They don't want to show up for Wednesday night. And that's an issue. I think a lot of the pastor needs to think about that. They have to think about that. It's so easy to want to be like, oh, I was speaking in front of 200 people today, 300 people today in my church today. 3 people came to see me, because a lot of people will say that they came to see me, even though they want them there because they want to talk about Christ. But this is when it strays away. It strays away the purpose of why you have the church open in the first place. It's about you selling your stuff. So I just wanted to talk about that, guys, today. I don't want to make this video way too long, but thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said before, if you have something to comment on in regards to the big mega churches and the church, seeker-friendly church, and if you experience something like that, and did it affect you, or do you see anybody who was affected by it, or do you think that's the new norm now and that's what we should follow? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good night.